Welcome to week 9 of Explore the Bible, continuing the story of Genesis. We're moving into chapter 11. So this is kind of the last chapter of the first section of the book of Genesis that has some of the big setting stories, from creation to the fall to Noah and his story, and now what we typically call the Tower of Babel. So we're going to dive into this in just a sec. Before we do, be sure and subscribe if you haven't already. Like, comment, ask questions, share it with others. And then if you want to support what we're doing, you can go to give.exposedtochrist.com and support the ministry that we have in teaching and in missions. All right, let's look at Genesis 11. Just maybe short today, we'll see. The whole earth had the same language and vocabulary. Okay, we're post Noah, right? So he went forth, multiplied. They've had lots of children. We don't have any gauge on a time frame here, but whole earth, same language and vocabulary. As people migrated from the east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make oven-fired bricks." They used brick for stone and asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky. Let's make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered throughout the earth." So there is this idea that we're gonna make these bricks. So there's some advance that's happened here where they're able to make the bricks, and then we're going to build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky. We're going to build this tall tower. But what's at the base of this? Let's make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we'll be scattered throughout the earth. Let's make a name for ourselves. Let's make ourselves famous in whatever the world is at that point in time. We want to be world famous. This search for fame, this hunger for adulation, for rising above everyone else and having some reputation or whatever it is that everyone else is going to look for, but it's built solely on we can build really tall things. Basically, that's their goal. We're gonna make a name for ourselves, and it seems like it's going to be based not on our generosity, not on our righteousness, not on our worship of God, but on our ability to build really tall things, which sounds a little shallow, doesn't it? Maybe it is shallow. We want to make a name for ourselves. Glad that doesn't happen today. I'm glad there aren't people today going around trying to make a name for themselves, trying to be famous for the sake of fame. I'm glad that doesn't happen anymore, right? We have evolved past that, thankfully. Hear the sarcasm. Then the Lord came down to look over the city and the tower that the humans were building. Excuse me. The Lord said, "If they've begun to do this as one people, all having the same language, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down there and confuse their language so that they will not understand one another's speech." Okay, so the Lord comes down to look over the city. The Lord sees what's going on. He sees the tower that the humans were building. He sees this tower is what stands out, not the city, not the being able to have a place where we live in community, but it's the tower which is being built to make a name for ourselves, right? Now let's look at what the Lord has to say about the building of this tower. There's a unity among them. They all have the same language. There's nothing they plan to do that will be impossible for them. Here's the Lord's statement. Those people are unified together. They communicate together. They can do anything, right? But what they were setting out to do was wrong. What they were setting out to do was to take his place, that will be more famous than God, that will be known to put themselves, exalt themselves above the Lord, to make a name for themselves, not to make a name for the Lord. And he says, look, if they do this, nothing that they plan to do will be impossible. I just want you to think about that. When there is unity and good communication, we can get a lot done. That's still true, right? It's still true when we're unified, when we have a common goal, a common purpose, and we work together, we communicate together, we can accomplish a lot. But that accomplishing a lot needs to be in service to or in honoring of the Lord, not of ourselves and exalting ourselves. And so the Lord says, let's, which is another one of these plural statements that God makes about himself. Let's go down there, confuse their language so they won't understand one another, so that they won't be able to accomplish this. So from there, the Lord scattered them throughout the earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore, it is called Babylon, for the Lord confused the language, or Babel, right, of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them throughout the earth. So he scattered them throughout the earth, and they stopped building this city because they couldn't communicate with one another anymore. And they call that place Babylon, or Babel, the place of Babel, where the language, that's all it just sounds like to one another, because they all have different languages. So obviously this is a root story about how these different languages began around the world, but it's also, and maybe more pointedly, it is a story about what happens when people try to put themselves in God's place, when they try to exalt themselves above God, and also a truth in there about what we can do if we'll work together with a common goal, common vision, and we will have a good communication within ourselves among the group. We can get anything done. And I think we should see that side of it as the statement of truth that the Lord gives about what man can accomplish, and then take into account for whom are we accomplishing that, and what are we working towards. And I think that there is some hope in this story about what we can do, as well as a warning about exalting ourselves, about the seeking of fame, about making a name for ourselves, making a name for ourselves. Boy, that's what we ought to do. That's a great thing. And that is today such a high value. So many people value making a name for myself, and fame, the search for fame. And it is fleeting, it is useless, it is selfish, it is narcissistic, it is sinful, it is rebellious against the Lord, and it is a complete opposite of why we are created. So, great story. I hope that's helped as you study the story. Again, I think it's kind of a short story, but there are some important themes there that we should grasp about fame and about working together. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment, share, ask questions, like the video, hit the like button. Thanks for doing that. We'll see you next time.